Chris Curtis was robbed today. Everything sucked. To me, the scorecard sucked, the stoppage sucked, the lack of a point deduction sucked. I think it was all handled terribly. Chris Curtis fought Roman Kopylov today, in which he suffered a TKO loss with 1 second left in the fight. Now, that's not what bugs me, right? If the fighter can't continue, they can't continue, no matter what part of the fight it is. But at the same time, the moniker we always give to an athlete that complains about a stoppage is protect yourself at all times. And that's exactly what Chris Curtis did. Chris Curtis took a bad head kick at the end of the third round. That is undisputable, but that did not warrant the fight being stopped. You must intelligently defend yourself at all times, otherwise the fight will be stopped. This is the case. Now, he got dropped with the head kick. As he falls, he catches himself with his arms. He didn't let himself just drop to the ground. And he puts his chin up and his arm up to observe and stop any follow-up shots. Realistically, besides just not getting hit by the head kick in the first place, he did everything you're supposed to do, and the fight still got stopped. It is a terrible stoppage. And that's not my only gripe with the reffing tonight. I also think how they handled fouls in this fight was absolutely atrocious. In the second round, Chris Curtis took a loaded up right hand to the groin and an eye poke. To me, that's enough to warrant a point deduction considering they're in the same round, but also at the same time, contextually, it's so much worse. Look, with respect, Kopylov was getting the crap beaten out of him in that second round, which I'll discuss more when I talk about the round-by-round scoring of the fight and why I don't like the scorecards. But at the same time, when he does this, and I'm not saying he intended to do it, he benefits. He gets time to recover. Given that's the case, you have to take a point away, because he's gained such a sizable advantage from being able to recover from the damage that he's taking in this round. These two things together, I think the fight's at least a draw. And a draw versus a loss for a 37-year-old man, that means a lot. Chris Curtis isn't young. This loss probably has messed up the whole rest of his career and his ability to support himself. And look, it's really easy to say that Curtis should have just done better himself, right? That it's on him for getting dropped in the first place. And whilst I do somewhat agree, we're talking about a man's life here. We're talking about his ability to stay in the UFC and support himself financially. These sorts of things matter a lot and they can't be overlooked. Moving on, looking at the scorecards, right? I saw that they gave Kopylov the second round and Chris Curtis the first round. That to me is absolutely ridiculous. Giving Kopylov that second round is, I just don't understand it. For the vast majority of that round, Chris Curtis was breaking Kopylov's face. With respect, I mean, look at the striking numbers. There is a huge disparity. And I watched that fight. I know that Chris Curtis got stunned at the end of the round. And this is actually a theme throughout the fight. Kopylov just won't follow up. He hits one good, I believe it was a left hand, that stuns Chris Curtis, and then he just doesn't follow up. The lack of follow-up damage, to me, I have to score the round for Chris Curtis. He just did so much before that. It's not a fight like Cormier versus Gus, where Cormier's lights went out at the end of, I believe, the third round. Yeah, Curtis got stunned. He lost his balance from the shot, but he didn't fall over. He was able to walk back to his stool fine. Kopylov just didn't do enough from any sort of damage perspective. Curtis won the fight. And just looking at, how people are responding to the fight right now, saying that Chris Curtis would have lost anyway, I understand that's a contentious point, and not everyone's going to agree with that. That's fine. But I think what can't be disagreed with, and there needs to be common ground on, Chris Curtis lost a lot of opportunities in this fight. Not even just getting stopped, which does matter on an athlete's record. Also the fact that maybe if Kopylov loses a point, maybe he fights differently. You never know what would happen. And I think the lack of good reffing in this fight screwed over Chris Curtis the most. Look, if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and subscribe. I'm usually more lighthearted than this, covering, fight analysis with some news coverage thrown in there. I just thought that it was necessary to bring attention to this.